belly bumpies. It'll be really important for your safety. Please safely and complete the season throughout our indoor park. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck. Now we're going to get started by heading on into the Little Forest, which is how we're going to begin this 2-week safari adventure together. That is correct. We are scheduled to be out here for the next 2 weeks, although Hakuna Matata, no worries. Those weeks sure will likely fly back so fast. It'll probably feel an awful lot, like 20 minutes or so. To that left-hand side, through the foliage, you may have found a reddish antelope with horns called the bongo. Just like the drum, both male and female bongo have horns, allowing them to stay hidden as they run through the cover of thick bushes and foliage. Now the gray antelope here to the left without horns is called the greater kudu. Now the greater kudu is the second tallest antelope on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, able to stand at a height of roughly 55 inches, or 4 feet 7 inches tall. Making it a pretty tall antelope. Now you might also be able to see to the right hand side, kind of hiding in the foliage back there, it's one of my favorites, the okapi. Now the okapi has some striped pants, striped legs, or striped pajamas that kind of makes it resemble a zebra. It is, however, the closest living relative to the giraffe. Some of the features that the okapi shares with the giraffe is that of a similar skull shape, which would actually be just a little smaller than the giraffe's skull. I also see coming up ahead of us here to the left, laying down among the rock walls, the famous black rhinoceros, also called the black rhino. And the black rhino does weigh in up to 3,000 pounds. It's also got a charging speed of up to about 35 miles per hour. It can be very glad that it is not interested in charging at us at the moment. Alright, so see coming up ahead of us as well, 2 beautiful black and white birds with an orange bill coming up on our left side. They're called the saddle-billed stork, which is the name they get because their orange bill is shaped similar to an English saddle. The standard heights of up to about 5 feet tall, making them pretty tall birds. Up to about 5 inches taller than that of the greater kudu that we saw earlier. But now we're going to go ahead and make our way on out of the Little Forest. However, we are still going to continue on this rather lengthy journey of ours. And of course, by continue, I mean we are going to continue on down into the Safi River, where I can already see some beautiful white birds with gray feathers out here known as the pink-backed pelicans. Now these pelicans out here get their name from a pink color on their back, which extends to their extremities during their breeding season. Now they are colonial nestlers, making both male and female pelicans associate together at the same time, which is certainly something I feel is just very, very romantic. So in the water on the left-hand side of us, you're also going to find the famous Nile hippopotamus, also called the hippo. And the hippo does weigh in up to 5,500 or 5,500 pounds, making them one of the heavier animals on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. In fact, a group of hippos, like you see in the water on the left, is called a bloat of hippos. And the hippo will spend most of their days submerged underwater, something they do because unlike you and I, they don't have sweat glands. Therefore, that does mean that they are, in fact, unable to sweat. So, in fact, that does mean that the only way they have to stay cool is by simply being submerged underwater throughout most of the day. As they usually will only come up on land at nighttime. It's a little more. Cooler. But now it does look as though we are going to go ahead and make our way here into a change in the foliage, indicating that we are now getting a little closer to the savanna. In fact, I think it's time to go ahead and just make our way down into the savanna proper. And we're trying to see if we can't get a real nice up close and often very personal view of each and every single one of all of these awesome and amazing animals who use the wide open spaces of the savanna as their home. And as we begin our journey out here in this savanna, it does look as though we've already found some rather large horned and woolly cattle. Also got the Watusi cow here to our immediate right. And for the Watusi trout, we first scoped them, which is why I like to say they're Watusi to the right. Now the horns on their heads might look very large and very heavy. They're actually quite light and honeycombed on the inside, allowing blood to flow through their horns, thus allowing them to stay cool on hot days, acting sort of like the radiator in your car. Well, coming up here on the left side, you might be able to also spot my favorite animal in this savanna, which would be that of the African painted dog, or the painted wolves. Named for the paint-like pattern on their coats. Now, these painted wolves are very close cousins of the domestic dog, like the ones you may have known, so they're canid or canine. Sadly, though, they are an endangered species. This used to be roughly 500,000 about 100 years ago. But that did, the number just barely into the tens of thousands, unfortunately. Now, as is coming up here on our left-hand side, three beautiful reddish antelope with curved horns known as the sable antelope. Now, the sable antelope has some special significance to the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. That's because we use them as a symbol of our reserve. They're also some of the most protective out of all antelope species, as they typically will sit and stand in a circular formation with their horns facing outwards, so as to much more easily protect themselves from predators. Also, the large tanned antelope to our left-hand side of us are known as the eland. The eland are the largest antelope on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, standing at heights of roughly 6 feet tall at their shoulder.
That's the baby owl.
They also have a rather impressive standing leap of up to about 5 feet in the air as well.
Right? The mom and dad.
It looks like we've also made our way here into a bit of a tower. That would be a tower of the giraffe, which is a name for a group of giraffe. Now, if we were to take a close look at the pattern on any of these giraffes out here, you might notice the edge to each individual pattern is actually very sharp and very jagged. That's how you can tell that they are, in fact, the Maasai species of giraffe. Now, each pattern on a giraffe is unique to the individual giraffe, as no two patterns are the same, acting sort of like their fingerprints. As the giraffe is known to be the tallest animal in the savanna, they can stand at heights of up to 20 feet tall. That's on average about roughly 16
Al, were you able to get me on?
feet tall. They're also roughly 6 feet tall when they're first born. Now, a female giraffe does give birth standing up. So yes, it does mean that a baby giraffe or calf will have roughly a 6 foot drop to the ground when they're first born. I like to say the first thing that a baby giraffe feels is likely gravity. Although not to worry, as that drop does happen to provide a bit of a boost to a baby giraffe's respiratory system. So I guess it works out okay for a baby giraffe in the end. Coming up here on the right-hand side of us, we're going to find a bit of a small dazzle. That would be a dazzle of zebras, which is the name for a group of zebras. These zebras out here are what's known as the Turkmen mountain zebra, as they're one of the smaller species of zebra. So thicker stripes on their hind quarters than that of other zebra species. Thus allowing younger zebras to tell apart their moms from other zebras in the dazzle. Also to the right-hand side, you'll find some larger gray or black antelope known as the wildebeest. That is correct, that the wildebeest are technically an antelope species, where in fact the word wildebeest is actually an Afrikaans word meaning wild beast. Therefore, they are in fact literally an antelope, as a wild beast, all at the exact same time. Here's the wildebeest to our right. Now it looks as though here momentarily we're going to make our way here into Tembo territory. And that word Tembo does happen to be a Swahili word for another very famous animal. Who is very, very famous for being very, very large and also very, very heavy. In fact, it does tend to be so large and so heavy, yet honestly should be kind of hard for us to miss. Unless, of course, it is doing an excellent job of height, which looks unlikely. Because it looks like you have the Tembo here to the right. The Tembo, which would be the Swahili word for the elephant. Now, this elephant out here would be that of the African elephant. Of course it is. We are in Africa after all. That would make it a little awkward if it was the Asian elephant. Now, the African elephant does happen to have some pretty large ears, which coincidentally is shaped somewhat like Africa, the continent. Off to the left-hand side, laying down in the tree line, you might be able to find the largest monkey in the world, the mandrill monkey. male mammals weighing up to 100 pounds, whereas female mammals weighing up to 40 pounds. So that one right there is like a male, as he's about double the size and weight of a female. Now the bright markings that he has on his face and hindquarters get more black and more vibrant the more that he gets excited. Also, the short stub-like tail on his hindquarters is the key distinction of a monkey, as in fact all monkeys have a tail, whereas all apes actually have no tail. Now, a group of primates, like the mandrill monkey, is actually called a troop of monkeys. The mandrill is, of course, known to be the largest and heaviest monkey in the entire world. It's the pale in comparison to the sheer size and weight of the elephant. So it is the largest and heaviest animal on land. They can weigh in up to 13,000 pounds, which is 6.5 tons. Meaning they can grow to be about the same size and weight as that of an unladen semi-truck. They can also eat up to 300 pounds of foliage every single day, causing them to be a bit of a pest problem to a group of farmers over in Kenya. That's because when the elephants would walk too close to the farmers' crops, they would eat what they perceived as a free buffet. Actually, that's something those farmers did not like one bit, and they were losing a very large portion of their crops to the elephants. So they wanted to get rid of the elephants. But in fact, we here on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve did not want the elephants losing their habitat. So we made use of knowledge that we learned about elephants right here on the reserve, which would be that elephants are in fact afraid of bees. So we took that knowledge over to Kenya, where we built a very special fence around the crops called a bee fence, or a beehive fence. So now when the elephants walk too close to the crops, instead of eating them, they disturb the fence. This then disturbs the bees. The bees will then fly out and begin the buzzing as they do, and then the elephants, upon hearing